Hello, everybody. Welcome to Final Frontier News. We're back again. It's the fourth time. And it feels great to be back, man. We're going to be on the YouTube channel, Final Frontier News YouTube channel. Full episodes in audio are going to be on the Patreon. And we'll probably do some advertising and plugging of it all over the place because we want to get the word out that we're back. You know, we really had a great following on YouTube with some people that are only ever heard of us through Final Frontier News on YouTube. And that was really an impressive thing because you know how hard it is to grow a new channel. So to have 30 or 40 listeners that were just listening to us for Final Frontier News was really cool. So hopefully some of you guys come back and hopefully we can start producing this content consistently for you so you can rely on it. And then you will be back invested into what we're doing here. So I'm here with Dave Rose, as always. Joe Cronin, Dave Rose, Final Frontier News. We'll have Jesse here from time to time and some other guests as well. But what's been up, Dave?
Not too much. It's been a little bit since we've done an episode of Final Frontier News, but I'm always up and ready to go when it comes to discussing everything in possibility.
Yeah, basically my fault why we haven't done one in a while, by the way. So we're here. I'm alive. We're ready. There's a lot that we could talk about, and we're going to do it again over time, and we're going to try to edit, episodes by episode and come up with topics. But getting right into it, man, we're in this pandemic. So, real quickly, I think we should mention that, unfortunately, because I know people try to escape it, but we should mention it real quick and say that things are so weird right now that we're in this pandemic still. I thought June, July would be out of this thing. But before we get into all these other things, what do you think, Dave? This I'm springing on you to start the show, but what do you think about winter times coming? The flu colliding with the coronavirus. They're talking about they don't know what it will do. It will either be horrific, right? If you can get both at the same time, we may see some crazy stuff, or one virus may push out the other, which I guess is something that happens that I didn't know that could happen. But one virus could actually annihilate the other and then continuously live, and then you're fighting that virus, which is a good thing. But if they both can coexist in your body, that would be trouble for the wintertime here.
Well, let's start off by saying that they are two separate viruses. Influenza and SARS-CoV-2 are two totally separate viruses. Or viruses actually is the proper term. Regardless. Right. And they both are currently existing concurrently in people and in nature. Well, in our environments. They don't the SARS-CoV-2, aka this SARS, so the problem is they keep changing the name. This is on purpose.
Yeah,
but
regardless, it's the misinformation.
COVID-19, what's being called COVID-19 is separate from the influenza or the flu, as it is called. And the fact is that according to what I've been reading, and this comes directly from the CDC, every person that supposedly has died from COVID-19 has had a flu shot. So and we already know that that vaccines do inhibit sometimes the immune systems of life forms and essentially make it weaker and more susceptible to the thing that they're needing to protect. So because they are similar in the sense that they are respiratory infections, viruses, but they are obviously different. So it does seem that it may make one more susceptible to dying, because infection rates seem to be fairly high with COVID, but death rate seems to be practically negligent. It's last time I checked, it was 0.0038% death rate worldwide.
Wow.
Regardless of lockdowns or not.
Yeah, it's just a super I don't know, man. Like the numbers are so. I haven't looked at them in a while because I got frustrated myself because every time I read one thing, then someone tells me something else, and I got to read another thing, which is also probably by design, like you said. The more you can
Well, it doesn't
confuse.
help that the CDC or the WHO keep changing either definitions or advice as to how to conduct yourself and to protect yourself and so forth. So
Hmm.
you can't blame, anybody for not understanding what's going on or being able to digest the numbers that they keep changing on purpose.
You know what this reminds me of? Because I've always been like this. I'm not the brightest bulb as far as the solution and what to do and what we're going to be doing, but this was like back in school, and I'll do this really quickly because I don't want to take too much time. But so basically, I was in Catholic school, whatever, Sunday school, and I had all these questions about when you die and what happens and these other things, and I noticed a lot of these people couldn't answer these questions. They couldn't answer them, or they had no logical response to them. And as a kid, I was like, this doesn't make sense. And so eventually, like, that's why I kind of moved away from religion. Doesn't mean there's no God, doesn't mean there's no reason to believe in certain things. It just meant that these people really, they didn't know why they were there. They just make believe. And same thing in high school. After the Columbine shootings, they made us all wear tags with our pictures on them in school. So we had to wear name tags with our pictures on them. And, one day I was late to a class and I was running to class and I got stopped by security because I had forgotten my tag at home. And they said, hey, Dan, where's your tag? Or Joe, where's your tag? And I said, well, I left it at home, but I want to get to my class because I don't want to fail this class because the teacher said no matter what, if you're not here, you're going to fail the test today. And anyway, they ended up stopping me and they said, it's because of the tag. And I said, but you know who I am. Just let me go to class. This doesn't make any sense. And they said, well, these keep us safe, so you have to wear them. And I said, well, they really don't keep us safe because every door in the school is open. So anybody from the street can walk in here without a tag on and kill a bunch of people, or somebody could walk in with their tag on from school and kill a bunch of people. So it doesn't keep us safe whatsoever at all. It's a false. It's a farce. It's a way of either feeling safe or some kind of weird political move by the principal to say we did something. And it's like I could walk in the school with my name tag off and blow everybody's head off with name tags on. They didn't protect anybody. And the only way to really, really try to protect everybody would be to have one entrance, have a whatever they have at airports, the metal detectors and things like that. And there's only one way in and one way out, and there's armed guards at the security area. And even then, somebody could jump through a window and come in with a gun. So it's just like, but this is false bullshit. You don't know what you're talking about. And this is what the CDC and the WHO and all these other people kind of remind me of, that they're creating their own, their own facts. They don't know what they're talking about, essentially, which is okay if they're using science, because science is always changing, so you don't know. But my problem with them is that they don't portray it as, here's what we believe right now, but it may not be true. Use this information, at whatever, with caution because we don't know, but here's what we're going with right now and here's why. If they said it like that, I'd have no problem. But that's not how they present it. They present it as this is the 100% fact of what's going on right now. And they tell you this is the fact, this is what's happening. And then 30 days later it changes. And then they tell you that's the fact. And so that's dishonest to me, that how they present these things when they're supposed to be the ones that know. And some people believe them and look at them as the all-knowing, all-seeing, which is hypocritical. It's wrong. It's inaccurate. It's delusional.
Even worse is when those same people then create this mob mentality to attack those that just simply question
Right.
a narrative that has clear red flags on it.
If you create, I don't, me, I don't like, if you shame or discredit free thinking, you're in a dangerous situation. You're becoming a dangerous person if you are criticizing free thinkers, because free thinkers are people that will keep you safe just as much as maybe themselves. And yeah, some people are always questioning things and always creating a conspiracy or whatever, but in the end, they don't make any decisions. They're just talking and creating thought. These people are actually making the decisions. So you're backing them blindly while criticizing people for just thinking, for criticizing the bloggers or the writers or the people who write the books or the people who have the ideas and the thought. And that is very much more dangerous.
The same people that criticize those that question the narrative are the same people that cannot crunch the numbers, but rely on people that have massive investment in stocks of pharmaceutical companies that would only benefit from the eventual requirement for a vaccine or something like that. So they basically say, no, let the experts talk. They know science, while again refusing critical thought to connect the obvious conflict of interest between those that are telling them what to do and how to do it, and their eventual profit that they're going to make from any connection that they have in the big pharma cartel.
They are essentially the best comparison for these type of people, right? Are the type of people that will fight to just want to believe the system and stay in the system. It's sort of
Correct.
the who's the character in the first Matrix?
Oh, Agent Smith.
Well, there's Agent Smith, but I'm thinking of the guy
Cypher.
Cypher. Yeah. Just put me back in. I want to taste the red meat. I want to be. It's ignorance. Ignorance is bliss. That line sums up the whole thing. Ignorance is bliss. Like you're upset at the free thinkers because you don't want it to be true that this could be inaccurate or there could be a complicated story or something that you might have to do.
And that is called cognitive dissonance.
And there's a lot of it.
The reaction is so visceral, so emotional that these people cannot accept that anything other than what they believe is reality, that they react violently sometimes towards any suggestion to the opposite of what they believe.
And that scene and that character in The Matrix is, there is no greater, I don't know if there's a greater example, really. It's one of the best examples. And, you know, he will kill the people that saved him. He will kill the people that he grew up with or that helped him just to get back into the slavery or into the Matrix. It's such a, I guess, is that a metaphor for, you know, what this is? And I don't know. You know me with English language. You know, I'm not the greatest with what metaphors and acronyms and things like that. You'd know the definition better than me, but I think it's a metaphor.
It's a good analogy.
There you go. Analogy. Thank you. I barely passed English. So we have a couple questions real quick. Parker says, how do you view the future of humanity 50 years from now? This is from Patreon. So patreon.com/Joe Cronin Show. Eventually, I think we may decide to launch a separate Patreon for Final Frontier. I may do that.
I think that would be good.
I think
because
it'd be
then we can get exclusive content that I can produce independently, and that would be quite more consistent than what we're seeing today.
Monetarily, it will work out better too because we'll split it, so it'll help you out better too. You know, Dave right now.
But there's so much more content available. You know, if we go that route, so that would be something where people could expect an explosion of content.
Right.
And again, I've got gigabytes of images alone.
Right.
I've got gigabytes of actual PDF documents that are straight from the government.
We may even decide to do a website. You know, to be honest, I could do a website up too. But either way,
either way, that people should understand that what you are experiencing right now is just the tip of the iceberg as to what we could truly produce.
Right. So definitely not to pander, but we don't have any commercials here. So it's you guys telling me that you love the show, dropping in the couple bucks or whatever it is to be a patron or whatever, if you want donations, things like that. That's how we're going to run everything. So let us know and hit me up. Let Dave know. Let me know. Show it with you know, your wallet, I guess. I don't know. And let us know. We would love to do these a couple times a week, if not more. So, like, you know, we really enjoy them, and I know that a lot of people do too. Have people on the show.
This is my favorite thing to do on YouTube, to be honest.
Because I think this is who you really are. I think this is a little bit who I am too, like mostly. This is what we really love. You know, when we get into all these other things that people listening may not even know about, because maybe people listening are just Final Frontier people. They don't even, you know what I mean? That's another reason to separate it. But this is like what we really are like in real life. You know what I mean? I feel like more than some of the goofy stuff that we do other places. But, you know, what are the advancements you see in communication and transportation by then? That's what Parker says. 2070, assuming we haven't nuked ourselves. What
in transportation and communications, he said?
Yeah, transportation and communications of, my God, 50 years from now.
I'm thinking that we're probably going to definitely let me rephrase that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a high probability that we will have at that point flying cars,
Mm-hmm.
but probably because the drones pushed it. And we're going to see sort of like what we saw sort of in the 1950s cartoons where you had, sort of like in the Jetsons, where you had like laneways in the sky
Yeah.
of all these vehicles that were flying. We're going to see the same thing with drones. We're going to see similar stuff with certain personal transport vehicles.
Uh-huh.
Um, I'm not too sure about actual, like, for example, carrying building materials. Because if that thing was to fail and then fall from the sky, the damage could be substantial as opposed to a passenger car. But
So
and yeah, we've been waiting for the flying car for years, although they've existed multiple times in the
I
past.
think it's different though. I think what you're gonna see is like I go to my wrist or my computer system in the house, I tap a button or I even think a thought. Maybe at this point we may have implants. But maybe not. Maybe we tap a button and we call. Like I want to go shopping at the supermarket. So you hit a button and a drone car would actually show up on top in front of your
Well,
yard.
that's my thought as well. I think that would be also an eventuality, is that not just like at this point when you already have this established order,
Mm-hmm.
um, instead of actually owning a flying vehicle, you could just order one and it just like a drone comes down, picks you up, takes you where you
Well,
need to go.
I have two reasons for saying this. Not just economy and money and whatever else. I have a reason for saying that it will show up. But you're right. People may own them too. But I think the reason is because everybody can't just have a flying car and be driving around in the air. It would be dangerous. It would be just so complicated. So how do you control that? Well, you control it through GPS. So there are automated skylines that are controlled. They're always the same. So there's
No, they would be mostly not just GPS, but GPS would be a portion of it. It would actually be ground-based sensors.
Mhm. Yeah, so you'd have ground-based sensors, you have GPS, you'd have the same sort of guidance systems that are in cars right now, right? The cars that are driving themselves now. So you would have that on top of a controlled mechanism. Like every car is a number, every car has a certain distance in between another car because everybody is GPSed. But also they are sensory too. So if a giant bird was in front of your car, the car would know it. So it could stop and could maneuver. But it generally stays within the same sort of, 15 by 30 radius in the sky. It's not high enough to hit a plane. It's not low enough to hit a house, and these are all controlled areas. And that idea, like when it takes you to the supermarket, there's already a patterned route for that. So, that's the way that you could do it in the future. And companies would obviously make money. So there would be no Uber. There'd be nobody showing up at your house to pick you up that way. It would just be automated and
It'd be Uber drones.
yeah, and you'd be charged. Like, oh, it charged, yeah, automatically. You want to go to the supermarket? Yeah, it's $8. Okay, hit the button. It comes to pick you up, flies you there, and you're done. And I don't know if 2070 is realistic for that, but it may be. It may be 2090, maybe, because we always feel like it's weird, Dave, because with
We're
some
very
things,
optimistic about what the future holds, and
yes,
yet we end up getting a dystopian future instead.
yeah, you could end okay, if you can look at that, could happen in two different ways. You could be locked in your house and forced to do certain things. And when you do certain things for society, you may get a credit to where you're allowed to take one of those vehicles. But if you don't do certain things for society or do with the government, whatever the case is, you may be banned from being able to use those. And you'd be forced to walk. You could be called a walker, where certain people who are a lower class or don't concede to the system, they're forced to be people that have to walk or take a bike to the store, or maybe they don't, because we don't have cars anymore, maybe because there's no gasoline and things like that. And so it may be a privilege to be able to use that, and they'll use that against you. So yeah, there's a lot of different good or bad ways that could be available. It might just not be all happy-go-lucky. Everybody can, ride these things. Certain people get a credit, or if people, but in an optimistic way, in a good way, it is a positive thing where people have to pay $20 for a ride, but maybe lower income families are allowed 3 rides a month, or something like that.
I think you're getting a little too deep here, and then we should move on to those additional questions.
I agree with you because this we could really go into. What is an advancement you'd like to see happen in your lifetime, though? Medical, technical, etc. And Parker, we'll come back to that, man. I promise we'll go back into that. I could go hours on that probably with Dave.
Well, I think we answered the question quite succinctly.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Everything else is we could.
looks like you're more like actually looking to become the new CEO of Uber Sky or whatever they're gonna fucking call it.
Yeah. Well, what you will see soon is the Amazon. We talked about it. The big beehive.
Also, if they
blimp.
use Uber Sky, I'm gonna sue them. I just made that up. It's my name.
You heard it here on September 28th, 2020. Amazon is going to launch soon that giant blimp that delivers the drones, anything under 5 pounds. They're going to stop in a city. All the drones will come out like a beehive. They're going to drop things under 5 pounds all over the place. They're going to go back to the blimp. They're going to plug into the charging stations, go to the next city. They're going to pick up all the new packages for the new deliveries, and they're going to go out again. That's in the next 10 years. So that's going to be wild when that happens. What advancement would you like to see in your lifetime? Medical, technical, etc. That comes from Frost. I know what my answer to this is. Dave, you want to go first, or should I go?
Go first.
Okay. What advancement I want to see is the ability for nanobots to isolate cancer cells and be able to stop cancer, either pre-cancer or current cancer, via nanobots that would be inserted into the body of people that have susceptibility to cancer, or people that are developing cancer or are being pre-screened. And I would like to see pre-screening and just anything pre-medical start to become more of a way of life, as opposed to going to the doctor and like, let's take a look at you now, and waiting until you actually develop a problem before trying to help you, because that's detrimental to you, the medical field. It just doesn't make any sense. And part of the reason is because they make money from you getting sick. So, pre-screening and being able to pre-diagnose things is what I want to see, and nanobots would be a way to go. I know people are scared of that, though, in a way, because that can be misused like crazy. But that's my answer, if that could be done by good people in the right hands.
Okay, well, my answer is a little bit more complicated. Many people who work in shadow projects have come out and admitted this, that any technology that we can imagine has already been created.
Right.
Whether it be a Stargate, whether it be faster than light transport technology, whether it be anti-gravitic technology, cell regeneration, it seems to all have been made already. What trickles down to, what the mainstream, I guess, market has is just a drop in the bucket compared to what is truly available. So, for example, what you just said, I have strong convictions that they already exist. But more importantly, that cancer cures, for example, already exist. Or more importantly, to say cures for every known disease on the planet exists and have been known of for at least the last 50 years. Would that be great if they came out with it? Yes. But the thing is, though, it's not a technical development. It's not a medical development, because in my belief, from what I've seen and all I've researched, that's already existed, and it's only been held back because it's more profitable to keep people sick, for example. Or something that I fucking have always salivated on is anti-gravitic technology, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
Anti-gravity, fucking electrogravitic, magneto transportation, whatever. The bottom line is that you've got the ability now to go superluminal, which means beyond the speed of light. Utilizing that sort of drive on a craft, you create a shield around it, and it could be a saucer, it could be a globe, it could be anything. And then you can literally transport yourself within minutes to another galaxy that is hundreds of thousands of light years away.
And with that, think about this, and everybody out there can think about this. When you take an electron, and you talk about Stargate, you take a circular, let's just use the classic, what the Stargate looks like, right? Envision the circle on the left in a light, the circle on the right. You take a small electron, and what people don't realize, I believe, is that we are all light. We are all waves. We are all light. Everything isn't as physical as you think it is. It's not. It's wave, it's light. We're operating in a way that you can't even believe. So when you put an electron, say, or a small speck into a this circular Stargate. When you find out the frequency and you crunch these amazing amount of numbers and frequency and light and space and time, and you put the electron in that light, it appears in the other hole, in the other light, because there's a code, there's a frequency to each Stargate. And when you put the piece through one of the Stargates, it actually comes out the other end of the other Stargate because it's a mathematical code. Everything is math. It's unbelievable. And so if you take that anti-gravitic technology that can move instantly from here to there and can go so fast, it still takes a while to get to another planet and to get to other solar systems and things like that. And you have to deal with things like oxygen and stuff like that still. So to get around that, you use a Stargate. You fly the anti-gravitic, technology into the Stargate. It pops out the other end somewhere else. And that's all mathematical equations and frequencies. And so it's not about coordinates of where the Stargate is. In the movie Stargate, they talk about the coordinates and where they're going to. It's not about where the coordinates are. It's about what is the code of the Stargate. So one Stargate has a code, another one has a code, and no matter where in the world that other Stargate is, as long as you have that code for that Stargate, it's going to go through and it's going to come out. And it doesn't matter where it is. So it's not about finding out the coordinates of the Stargate. It's about the Stargate's frequency, the Stargate's math, and the Stargate's code. And that is really going to be exciting when that stuff gets unlocked. And whether that's unlocked now or we're just starting on the beginning of it, I don't know. But the fact that we're thinking it up means it can happen. Because like you said, the things that exist that we will never comprehend are out there. There are things that we just won't comprehend. And anything we can think of has either been done or really could be done. Even if someone has, because there is, Dave, there is a possibility that someone does have this crazy Einstein-like hypothesis about something, that epiphany that hits them, and maybe they are the first ones that really, really thought of that. But chances are that means it can exist or it has existed somehow, even if not by humans, right? So it's unbelievable, the stuff that's going to be out there.
Let's get down to it. Is that there's an organization in the United States, it's called a think tank, okay, where all the best minds come together. This one is called RAND, the RAND Corporation, R-A-N-D, RAND. Actually stands for, and was developed soon after the end of World War II, for research and development.
Mm-hmm.
And this group was tasked by the government and the contracts that they received to literally think up everything, whether it be how to create. Actually, out of RAND, you got Project Orion, which was a spacecraft that was propelled by the detonation of nuclear weapons. So you may have seen this, Joe. I'm not too sure if you're aware of Project Orion, but imagine, for example, a bullet, right? Mm-hmm. And behind the bullet, you've got, say, 6 little sticks sticking out, going backwards. And at the end of those, all those sticks is connected to one plate, mm-hmm. right? One round plate. And that mm-hmm. plate has a little hole in the middle. So what the bullet does is it shoots out a nuclear bomb through the back of that plate. So it goes through the hole and then it detonates. Now what happens is the plate itself gets pushed mm-hmm. by the explosion. And these little sticks that are sticking out from the bullet actually are like hydraulics. So that actual plate pushes the hydraulics. They go into the craft and the craft gets pushed further, right?
Yeah.
So you start to do this, and this is the insanity of the fucking logic in the 50s and 60s, but you keep throwing out a nuclear explosion behind it and it keeps increasing the speed.
Right.
You're going to be able to get up actually to at least a fraction of light speed.
Yep.
So these sorts of ideas have actually been proven to exist. Like they actually made a working prototype using conventional explosives, proving that the concept works. And then there was one suggestion that was given to
it's a bit crude, sort of.
President. it's a crude idea, but it worked with the technology at that point. And
Right.
one idea that was proposed to President Kennedy was a battleship that was large enough to hold like thousands of nuclear weapons that could be fired upon Earth, multiple like nuclear bombers, and apparently they made a they made a model mock-up that was the size of a Corvette. And when Kennedy saw this and learned about what this was, he canceled the project and was aghast at the idea that they would be willing to do this sort of thing. But
Yeah, I mean,
anything that's been thought of has been worked out, has been developed, and they've got the billions of dollars that they get every year in these secret black projects to make it happen.
Kennedy's time was a. By the way, everybody listening to this, the full episode is on Patreon. You may be listening to this for free or whatever. This is 30 minutes. This is part 1. Part 2 is available in full, this whole episode on Patreon. So hopefully you go over to patreon.com/Joe Cronin Show and listen to the full episode. This was part 1.